This is the USA Emergency Broadcast Network, your source for reliable disaster preparedness information.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this station, its management, sponsors, or other hosts. If you have any comments or suggestions about this program, please contact us at radio@usaebn.org. That's radio@usaebn.org.
Welcome to Common Sense Preparedness with your host, my grandpa, Tim Howard.
Imagine this. It's 2:17 a.m. The wind outside sounds like a freight train. Power's gone. Your phone battery is at 12%. The emergency alert you ignored yesterday? That was your warning. Now, you're in the dark, literally and figuratively. What's your plan? Do you even have one? Welcome to Common Sense Preparedness, the flagship show of the USAEBN network, the very first program we aired back in 2010. And here we are, still standing strong, because preparedness isn't a trend. It's a lifeline. I'm Kevin Conover, your host, and we're going to talk about something that could change your life. Why preparedness matters more today than ever before. This isn't about fear. It's about facts. It's about giving you the tools to protect your family, your home, and your peace of mind. No drama. No politics. Just practical steps you can take right now, because when the lights go out, when the roads flood, when the shelves empty, the only thing that matters is what you've done ahead of time. Preparedness isn't complicated. It's not expensive. And it's not just for doomsday preppers living off-grid. It's for parents, for caregivers, for anyone who wants to make sure that when life throws a curveball, you don't strike out. I spent years in the U.S. Army as a recon scout. I've seen what happens when plans fail. I've seen what happens when people assume someone else will handle it. And let me tell you, when the chaos hits, the cavalry isn't coming fast enough. You are your first responder. Your family is counting on you. And that's why this show exists. Back in 2010, when USAEBN launched the show, the world was different. Social media was just taking off. Smartphones were still a luxury. And yet, even then, we knew something. Disasters don't care about your calendar. Hurricanes, wildfires, earthquakes, they don't wait for you to get ready. They strike when they strike. And since then, the stakes have only gotten higher. We've seen record-breaking storms. We've seen supply chains collapse. We've seen civil unrest, cyber attacks, and pandemics that shut down entire nations. If you think preparedness is optional, think again. It's survival. It's common sense. Today, we're diving deep into why common sense preparedness is important, not just as a concept, but as a lifestyle. We'll talk about the myths that keep people from preparing. We'll break down the excuses. I don't have time. I don't have money. It'll never happen to me. And we'll replace them with truth, with action, and with confidence. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly why preparedness isn't paranoia. It's peace of mind. You'll understand the risks we face today, and you'll walk away with steps you can start tonight. Because preparedness isn't about fear. It's about freedom. So grab a notebook, grab a pen, or just listen closely. Because what we're about to cover could be the difference between chaos and control, between panic and calm, between loss and resilience. Let's start with the big question. Why do people ignore preparedness? Excuse number one, it'll never happen to me. Reality check. Disasters don't discriminate. They don't care about your zip code, your income, or your optimism. Hurricanes hit coastal states every year. Wildfires tear through neighborhoods that never burned before. Floods happen in places that were safe for decades. And if you think urban areas are immune, think again. Power grids fail, water systems break, and supply chains choke. Excuse number 2. I don't have time. Reality check. You have time to scroll social media for 2 hours a day. You have time to binge watch a series. You have time to prepare. And here's the kicker. Preparedness doesn't take days. It takes minutes. 10 minutes to label your water. 15 minutes to check your smoke alarms. 30 minutes to build a basic kit. If you can't spare that, you're gambling with your family's safety. Excuse number 3. It's too expensive. Reality check. Preparedness isn't about buying a bunker or a year's worth of freeze-dried food. It's about smart, affordable steps. A flashlight. A battery pack. A gallon of water per person per day. These aren't luxuries. They're lifesavers. And most of them cost less than a fast food meal. Here's the truth. People avoid preparedness because it forces them to confront vulnerability. It's uncomfortable to admit that life can change in an instant. But ignoring reality doesn't make it go away. It just makes you unprepared when it arrives. Preparedness isn't pessimism. It's optimism in action. It says, I believe in my ability to handle whatever comes. That's not fear, that's confidence. When I left the army, I thought I'd seen the worst. Combat zones, supply shortages, communications breakdowns. But then I watched ordinary families struggle during hurricanes, wildfires, and blackouts, because they didn't have a plan. And I realized something. The battlefield isn't just overseas. It's here. It's in our neighborhoods. It's in our homes. And the enemy isn't always human. It's nature, it's infrastructure failure, it's chaos. That's why I teach preparedness. Because I believe every family deserves a fighting chance. Up next, we'll break down the real risks, what's happening in our world today, and why it matters to you. We'll talk about extreme weather, fragile supply chains, and the ripple effects of global crises. And then, we'll move into solutions. Simple, actionable steps you can take right now. Because here's the bottom line. Preparedness isn't about predicting the future. It's about being ready for it. So stick with me. This isn't theory. This is practice. This is life-saving knowledge. And it starts now. When we launched Common Sense Preparedness back in 2010, the world was already showing signs of fragility. Remember the Deepwater Horizon oil spill? That wasn't just an environmental disaster. It was a wake-up call about how interconnected and vulnerable our systems are. Fast forward to today, and the list of crises has grown longer. Hurricanes that flatten entire coastlines, wildfires that turn neighborhoods into ash, cyber attacks that cripple hospitals, and pandemics that shut down global economies. Preparedness isn't a luxury anymore. It's a necessity. And yet, here's the paradox. The more advanced our technology becomes, the more complacent we get. We assume that because we have smartphones, GPS, and instant alerts, we're safe. But technology is only as strong as the infrastructure behind it. And when that fails, what do you have? You have yourself, your skills, your plan, or your lack of one. Let's rewind to 2005. Hurricane Katrina. Over 1,800 lives lost. Entire communities underwater. And here's the hard truth. Many of those deaths were preventable. People didn't evacuate because they didn't have transportation, didn't have a plan, or didn't believe the warnings. Shelters were overwhelmed. Communication systems collapsed. And families were separated for weeks, even months. Now, ask yourself, if a storm like Katrina hit your city tomorrow, would you be ready? Would you know where to go? What to take? How to keep your family safe? If the answer is, I'm not sure, then this episode is for you. Jump ahead to 2018, the Camp Fire in California. It destroyed the town of Paradise. 85 people died. Thousands lost homes. And here's what struck me. Many residents had minutes, sometimes seconds, to evacuate. Roads were jammed. Smoke turned day into night. And people who thought they had time didn't. That's the reality of disasters. They don't wait for you to get ready. They demand action now. And if you haven't prepared, you're gambling with your life. Remember Texas in 2021? A winter storm knocked out power for millions. Water systems froze. Grocery shelves emptied. And families were burning furniture to stay warm. This wasn't a hurricane. It wasn't an earthquake. It was a cold snap. A predictable event. And yet, the infrastructure failed. People suffered. Why? Because we assume the system will always work. But when it doesn't, what's your backup plan? Common sense preparedness isn't about fear. It's about empowerment. It's about saying, I refuse to be a victim of circumstance. It's about taking control of what you can, your home, your family, your resources, so that when the world gets chaotic, you stay calm. Preparedness is a mindset. It's not about hoarding supplies or living in a bunker. It's about building resilience, step by step, habit by habit. It's about asking, what can I do today to make tomorrow safer? And then doing it. Let's talk about resistance. Why do people push back against preparedness? Because it feels overwhelming. Because it feels expensive. Because it feels like admitting something bad might happen. But here's the truth. Preparedness isn't about predicting disaster. It's about reducing harm. It's about making sure that when, not if, life throws a curveball, you're ready to catch it. What's the cost of doing nothing? It's not just money. It's stress. It's fear. It's the helplessness of watching your kids shiver in the dark because you didn't buy extra blankets. It's the panic of realizing your phone is dead and you have no way to call for help. It's the regret of saying, I should have prepared, when it's too late. Here's something most people don't realize. Preparedness is freedom. It frees you from dependence on fragile systems. It frees you from panic when the news breaks. It frees you from the chaos of last-minute scrambles. When you're prepared, you're in control. And control is peace of mind. In the next segment, we're going to dig into the real risks, the ones you don't see coming until they're here. We'll talk about extreme weather, supply chain breakdowns, and why just-in-time living is a recipe for disaster. And then, we'll move into solutions, because talking about problems without solutions is pointless. So take a breath. Let this sink in. Preparedness isn't complicated. It's not expensive. And it's not optional. It's common sense. And that's what we're here to teach. Before we talk gear, before we talk kits, before we talk drills, let's talk mindset. Because preparedness isn't about what's in your garage. It's about what's in your head. Preparedness starts with a simple truth. You are responsible for your own safety. Not the government. Not the utility company. Not the neighbor down the street. You. That's not scary. That's empowering. Because when you accept that responsibility, you take control. And control is the antidote to fear. So here's your first mental shift. Stop thinking, it won't happen to me. Start thinking, I can handle it when it does. That's confidence. That's resilience. And that's what we're building today. Step 1. Know your risks. Preparedness isn't one size fits all. The risks in Miami aren't the same as the risks in Montana. So start by asking, what hazards are most likely where I live? Coastal? Think hurricanes and flooding. Wildland? Think wildfires and smoke. Urban? Think power outages, civil unrest, and water disruptions. Anywhere? Think storms, heat waves, and supply chain breakdowns. Your first task, make a list of the top 3 hazards in your area. Just 3. Don't overcomplicate it. Once you know what you're up against, you can prepare smart, not scattershot. Step 2. Build your basics. Forget the bunker fantasies. Forget the Hollywood drama. Preparedness starts with the basics. Water. 1 gallon per person per day. Minimum 3 days. Store it in clean containers. Label it. Rotate it every 6 months. Food. Non-perishable, easy-to-prepare items. Canned goods, dry staples, energy bars. Enough for 3 days. Don't forget a manual can opener. Light. Flashlights. Headlamps. Extra batteries. Because darkness isn't just inconvenient. It's dangerous. Power. A battery bank for your phone. A way to recharge. Solar if you can swing it. First aid. A basic kit. Bandages, antiseptic, pain relievers, any prescriptions you need. Comms. A way to get alerts. NOAA weather radio. Apps that work offline. Printed emergency contacts. That's it. That's your starter kit. You can build it in an afternoon. And it costs less than a weekend getaway. Step 3. Make a plan. Stuff without a plan is just clutter. So write it down. Where will you go if you have to evacuate? How will you communicate if cell service fails? Who's your out-of-town contact? What's your route if the main road is blocked? Put it on paper. Share it with your family. Practice it once. Because in a crisis, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. Step 4. Start small, stay consistent. Here's the secret. Preparedness isn't a sprint. It's a habit. Start with one thing today. Fill a water jug. Buy an extra flashlight. Print your emergency contacts. Then do one thing next week. And one thing the week after. Stack those habits. Because small steps add up to big resilience. Mindset coaching. From overwhelmed to action. Feeling overwhelmed? Good. That means you care. But here's how to beat it. Focus on what you can control. You can't stop hurricanes. You can't prevent wildfires. But you can store water. You can pack a go bag. You can teach your kids what to do if the lights go out. That's power. That's peace of mind. And remember, preparedness isn't about fear. It's about freedom. Freedom from panic. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from dependence on systems that fail. Micro-mission. Ready for your first micro-mission? Here it is. Store 3 gallons of water per person in your household. Put a flashlight and extra batteries in every bedroom. Print a 1-page emergency contact sheet and tape it inside a kitchen cabinet. Do that, and you're already ahead of 90% of people. Seriously. Next, we're moving into the big picture. What's at stake, why it matters, and how global trends affect your local reality. Because preparedness isn't just about storms. It's about systems. And when systems fail, you need a plan. Let me say this loud and clear. Preparedness is not paranoia. It's peace of mind. It's not about living in fear. It's about living with confidence. When you prepare, you're not just protecting your family. You're reclaiming control in a world that feels increasingly out of control. And that's what Common Sense Preparedness is all about. This show exists because we believe every household deserves the tools to thrive, not just survive. We believe preparedness should be simple, affordable, and practical. Not overwhelming, not political, and definitely not sensationalized. Common Sense Preparedness isn't just another podcast. It's the flagship of the USAEBN network, the first show we ever aired back in 2010. Why? Because preparedness is the foundation of resilience. It's the cornerstone of community safety. And for over a decade, we've been committed to one mission: turning credible guidance into actionable steps that anyone can take. We're proud of that legacy. We're proud that CSP has helped thousands of families build confidence, reduce risk, and stay calm when the world gets chaotic. And we're just getting started. Here's the truth. You don't need a military background to be prepared. You don't need a 6-figure budget. You don't need to live off-grid. You just need commitment. You just need to start. Preparedness is for everyone. Parents, students, retirees, small business owners. It's for people in apartments and people in houses. It's for anyone who wants to protect what matters most. And if you're listening right now, that means you care. That means you're ready to take the first step. Every episode of this show comes with a promise. We will never waste your time. We will never scare you. We will never sell you fear. What we will do is give you practical, evidence-based steps you can finish today, so your family is safer tomorrow. That's our brand. That's our mission. And that's why we're here. Let me leave you with this thought before we move on. Preparedness isn't about predicting the future. It's about shaping it. It's about saying, I refuse to be helpless. It's about turning uncertainty into confidence, chaos into calm, and fear into freedom. And you can do this. You can start today. You can start right now. So welcome to Common Sense Preparedness, the show that cuts through the noise, clears the confusion, and gives you the tools to protect what matters most. No drama. No politics. Just practical steps, delivered with clarity and conviction. Because when the lights go out, when the storm hits, when the shelves empty, the only thing that matters is what you've done ahead of time. And we're here to make sure you're ready. Coming up next, the main discussion. We're going to dig into what's at stake, why preparedness matters more than ever, and how global trends, from climate change to cyber threats, impact your everyday life. This isn't theory. This is reality. And it's time to face it head-on. Alright, now that we've set the stage, let's talk about the big picture. Why does preparedness matter so much today? Why is it not just a good idea, but a necessity? Let's break it down. No jargon, no fear tactics, just straight talk. The fragile world we live in. Here's the truth. We live in a world that feels stable, until it doesn't. Flip a switch, and the lights come on. Turn a faucet, and water flows. Tap a screen, and groceries show up at your door. Feels effortless. But behind that convenience is a fragile system. A system that can break faster than most people realize. Think about it. One storm can knock out power for millions. One cyber attack can freeze bank accounts. One supply chain hiccup can empty store shelves. And when that happens, what do most people do? They panic. They rush to the store. They fight over bottled water and batteries. And guess what? By then, it's too late. Why just-in-time living is a risk. We've built our lives around just-in-time everything, just-in-time groceries, just-in-time deliveries, just-in-time power. It's efficient, sure, but it's also brittle. There's no cushion, no margin for error. And when something goes wrong, the dominoes fall fast. Preparedness is about building that cushion. It's about saying, I'm not going to rely on a system that can fail. It's about creating your own safety net, because the truth is, no one's coming to save you in the first hour, the first day, maybe even the first week. The myth of instant help. Here's a hard truth. Emergency services are incredible, but they're not magic. They can't be everywhere at once. When disaster strikes, they prioritize the most critical needs. That means you might be waiting hours, days. And in that gap, you're on your own. That's not fear, that's reality. And it's why preparedness matters. Because when you're ready, you don't panic. You don't wait helplessly. You act. You adapt. You keep your family safe. The ripple effect of disasters. Disasters don't just hit one thing. They ripple. A hurricane doesn't just bring wind and rain. It knocks out power, floods roads, shuts down businesses, and strains hospitals. A wildfire doesn't just burn trees, it destroys homes, contaminates water, and displaces thousands. A cyber attack doesn't just freeze data, it disrupts supply chains, delays shipments, and creates chaos. Preparedness isn't about one scenario. It's about resilience in the face of cascading failures. It's about saying, if one system goes down, I have a backup. Why this matters to you? You might be thinking, okay, Kevin, but I'm not in a hurricane zone. I don't live near a fault line. Why should I care? Here's why. Disasters aren't just natural. They're technological. They're social. They're economic. And they're everywhere. Power outages happen in every state. Water main breaks happen in every city. Civil unrest can erupt anywhere. And if you think you're immune, you're not. Preparedness isn't about geography. It's about reality. The emotional side of preparedness. Let's talk about something people don't mention enough. The emotional toll of being unprepared. Panic is exhausting. Fear is paralyzing. When you're scrambling in the dark, when your kids are crying, when you don't know what to do, that's trauma. And it sticks. Preparedness isn't just physical. It's psychological. When you have a plan, when you have supplies, when you know what to do, you stay calm. You think clearly. You make better decisions. And that can save lives. The CSP advantage. This is where common sense preparedness comes in. We're not here to sell you fear. We're here to give you confidence. We're here to turn, "I don't know what to do," into, "I've got this." Because preparedness isn't complicated. It's not expensive. It's not extreme. It's common sense. In the next part of this segment, we're going to talk about the biggest risks we face today. Not in a doom and gloom way, but in a practical, here's what you need to know way. And then, we'll start connecting the dots to solutions. Because talking about problems without solutions? That's not what we do here. Alright, let's keep rolling. We've talked about why preparedness matters and how fragile our systems are. Now, let's look at the risks we face today. Not to scare you, but to make this real. And as we go, I'll sprinkle in some simple steps you can take right now. Because knowledge without action? That's just trivia. Risk number 1. Extreme weather. Let's start with the obvious. Weather. Hurricanes, floods, wildfires, heat waves, you name it. These aren't rare anymore. They're regular. And they're getting stronger. Why? Because the climate's changing. Whether you believe in the politics or not, the reality is storms are bigger, fires are hotter, and droughts last longer. So what do? You prepare for the basics. Shelter, water, power. If you live in a hurricane zone, know your evacuation routes. If you're in wildfire country, clear defensible space around your home. If you're in a flood-prone area, keep sandbags handy and store valuables high. Simple steps. Big difference. Risk number 2. Power grid fragility. Next up, the power grid. We take electricity for granted, until it's gone. And when it goes, everything changes. No lights, no heat, no refrigeration, no charging your phone. And here's the kicker, outages aren't just caused by storms. They can come from cyber attacks, equipment failures, even demand overload. So what's the move? Backup power. I'm not saying buy a generator tomorrow, but think about alternatives. Battery banks, solar chargers, even candles and lanterns. And here's a pro tip. Keep your devices charged when storms are forecast. Don't wait until the lights flicker. Risk number 3. Water disruptions. Water is life. And yet, most people don't store a single gallon. One broken main, one contamination alert, and suddenly you're scrambling. So here's your early solution. Store water now. 1 gallon per person per day. Minimum 3 days. If you've got pets, add extra. And don't forget a way to purify. Filters, tablets, even boiling if you have to. Risk number 4. Supply chain shocks. Remember 2020? Empty shelves. No toilet paper. No cleaning supplies. That wasn't a hurricane. That was a global supply chain hiccup. And it showed us how quickly normal can vanish. So what's the fix? Build a buffer. I'm not talking about hoarding. I'm talking about smart stocking. Keep a 2-week supply of essentials. Food, meds, hygiene items. Rotate them so nothing goes to waste. Risk number 5. Civil unrest and social disruptions. Here's one people don't like to talk about. Civil unrest. Protests, riots, disruptions. They happen. And when they do, roads close, stores shut down, and tensions rise. So what's your play? Stay informed. Avoid hot zones. Have a plan to shelter in place if needed. And keep your home secure, not fortified like a fortress, just locked, lit, and alert. Risk number 6. Cyber threats. Last one for now. Cyber attacks. They sound technical, but their impact is personal. They can shut down banks, hospitals, even utilities. So what can you do? Keep hard copies of critical info, account numbers, emergency contacts. Have some cash on hand. And don't rely on one app for alerts. Get a NOAA weather radio as backup. Early solutions. The CSP way. Notice something? Every risk we've talked about has a simple countermeasure. Water storage. Backup power. Basic food supply. Communication plan. These aren't extreme. They're common sense. And that's the whole point of this show. Preparedness doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. Here's the mindset shift. Stop thinking, I'll deal with it when it happens. Start thinking, I'll handle it because I prepared. That's confidence. That's resilience. And that's what we're building together. We've covered why preparedness matters and the biggest risks we face. Now, let's make this real. I want you to picture what happens when those risks turn into reality, and how a little planning changes everything. Scenario 1. The storm that wasn't supposed to hit. Imagine this. It's late summer. Forecast says the hurricane will miss your area. You relax. You don't stock up. You don't check your evacuation plan. Then, overnight, the track shifts. The storm barrels toward you. Stores are packed. Gas stations are empty. Roads are clogged. And you're stuck. Now flip that scenario. You had water stored. You had a go bag ready. You had a plan. Instead of panic, you act. You leave early. You stay safe. That's the power of preparedness. Scenario 2. The lights go out. Picture this. It's a freezing night in February. The power grid fails. No heat. No lights. No way to cook. Your phone dies. Your kids are cold and scared. You're burning furniture just to stay warm. Now imagine you had a backup plan. Extra blankets. A battery bank. A way to heat safely. You're not scrambling, you're calm. You're in control. That's what preparedness buys you. Peace of mind. Scenario 3. The silent emergency. Here's one most people don't think about. Water contamination. It doesn't announce itself with sirens. It's a quiet emergency. One day, your tap water is safe. The next, it's not. And if you don't have stored water or a filter, you're in trouble. But if you prepared, you've got clean water. You've got options. You're not standing in line for hours hoping the store still has bottled water. That's resilience. Practical hint. The rule of threes. Here's a simple rule. 3 days. 3 essentials. Water. 1 gallon per person per day. Food. Non-perishable, easy to prepare. Power. Light and a way to charge your phone. Start there. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Just start. Mindset coaching. Progress over perfection. Listen, preparedness isn't about perfection. It's about progress. You don't need a bunker. You don't need a year's worth of supplies. You just need to start. 1 step today. Another tomorrow. Stack those habits, because small steps add up to big resilience. Why this matters now? Here's the reality. The world isn't getting simpler. It's getting more unpredictable. Weather, technology, social systems. They're all interconnected. And when one fails, others follow. That's why preparedness isn't optional. It's essential. And that's why Common Sense Preparedness exists. We're here to cut through the noise. To give you clarity. To turn, I'll figure it out later, into, I've got this now. Because preparedness isn't fear. It's freedom. All right, we've talked about the why. We've talked about the risks. Now it's time for the how. Segment 3 is where we roll up our sleeves and get practical. We're going to talk about what you need to know, what you need to do, and how to protect yourself and your family, step by step. Because knowledge without action? That's just theory. And theory doesn't keep the lights on. All right, we've talked about why preparedness matters and what risks you're up against. Now it's time to roll up our sleeves and get practical. This segment is all about what you need to know and what you need to do. Step by step. No fluff. No fear. Just clear, actionable guidance. Start where you are. First things first, preparedness isn't about buying everything at once. It's about starting where you are. Look around your home. You already have some of what you need: flashlights, blankets, canned food. The goal now is to organize, fill the gaps, and create a system that works. The core four: water, food, power, communication. Let's break it down into 4 essentials. Water. Rule of thumb: 1 gallon per person per day. Minimum 3 days. Store it in clean containers. Label with the date. Rotate every 6 months. Bonus: keep a portable water filter or purification tablets. They're cheap and life-saving. Food. Focus on non-perishable, easy-to-prepare items. Canned goods, dry staples, energy bars. Aim for 3 days minimum. 2 weeks if you can. Don't forget a manual can opener. Seriously, people overlook this all the time. Power. Flashlights and headlamps. Extra batteries. A battery bank for your phone. Solar chargers if possible. If you can afford it, a small generator, but only if you know how to use it safely. Communication. NOAA weather radio. Emergency alert apps. Printed contact list, because phones die and networks fail. The go bag. Your lifeline in a hurry. If you have to leave fast, you need a go bag. Here's what goes in it: water and snacks. First aid kit. Flashlight and batteries. Copies of important documents. Cash. Small bills. Basic hygiene items. A change of clothes. Any prescriptions you need. Pack it in a backpack. Keep it by the door. And check it every 6 months. Home safety basics. Preparedness isn't just about supplies. It's about safety. Check your smoke alarms. Test your carbon monoxide detectors. Know where your gas and water shutoffs are. These aren't glamorous steps, but they save lives. Mindset coaching. Make it routine. Here's the secret. Preparedness works best when it's a habit. Don't treat it like a one-time project. Treat it like maintenance, like changing the oil in your car. Schedule a preparedness check once a month. Rotate supplies. Test gear. Update your plan. 10 minutes. That's it. Micro mission. Ready for your next micro mission? Here it is. Fill and label 3 gallons of water per person. Put a flashlight and batteries in every bedroom. Print your emergency contact sheet and tape it inside a kitchen cabinet. Do that, and you're ahead of most households. Let's go deeper, covering advanced strategies like shelter-in-place versus evacuation, how to build layered kits, and how to prepare for specific hazards like hurricanes, wildfires, and blackouts. Because preparedness isn't just about stuff, it's about strategy. All right, you've got the basics down: water, food, power, communication. Now let's level up. Because preparedness isn't just about having stuff, it's about having a strategy. And that strategy changes depending on the situation. Shelter in place versus evacuation. Know the difference. Here's the first big decision you'll face in an emergency. Do I stay or do I go? Shelter in place means you hunker down at home. You've got supplies, you've got safety, and leaving would put you at greater risk. Evacuation means you leave fast. Maybe it's a wildfire, maybe it's a chemical spill, maybe it's a hurricane that's about to make landfall. The key: know which scenarios call for which action. Hurricanes: evacuate if officials say so. Tornadoes: shelter in place, preferably in a basement or interior room. Chemical spill: evacuate immediately. Your job: make 2 plans. One for staying, one for leaving, and practice both. Layered kits: beyond the basics. Think of preparedness like layers. Home kit: everything you need if you're stuck at home for 2 weeks. Go bag: your lifeline if you have to leave in a hurry. Car kit: essentials for breakdowns or unexpected detours. Everyday carry, EDC: small items you keep with you. Flashlight, multi-tool, phone charger. Start with the home kit. Then build the go bag. Then add the car kit. Don't try to do it all at once. Stack the layers over time. Hazard-specific playbooks. Now let's talk about tailoring your plan to specific risks. Hurricanes. Evacuation routes. Know them now, not later. Keep your gas tank at least half full during hurricane season. Store important documents in waterproof containers. Wildfires. Clear defensible space around your home, at least 30 feet. Keep N95 masks for smoke. Have a go bag ready during fire season. Floods. Store valuables on high shelves. Know how to shut off electricity before water rises. Never drive through floodwaters. Turn around, don't drown. Winter storms. Extra blankets and warm clothing. Safe heat sources. Never use grills indoors. Keep pipes insulated to prevent freezing. Blackouts. Flashlights in every room. Battery banks charged. A plan for refrigerated meds and food. Practical hint. The 10-minute drill. Here's a game changer. The 10-minute drill. Once a month. Pretend you have 10 minutes to evacuate. What do you grab? Where do you go? Who do you call? This drill exposes gaps in your plan and builds confidence. Mindset coaching. Preparedness as a lifestyle. Preparedness isn't a one-time project. It's a lifestyle. It's about stacking habits. Rotate water every 6 months. Check smoke alarms monthly. Update your go bag twice a year. Make it routine. Make it normal. Because when preparedness becomes a habit, it stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling empowering. All right, you've got your household squared away. You've got water, food, power backups, and a plan. That's fantastic, but here's the truth. Resilience doesn't stop at your front door. Disasters don't respect property lines. When something big hits, your neighborhood matters. Your community matters. And if you want real security, you need to think beyond me and start thinking we. Why community preparedness matters. Here's the reality. When disaster strikes, the first responders aren't always firefighters or EMTs. They're your neighbors. They're the people next door. And if you've built a network, if you've shared plans, pooled resources, and communicated, you're stronger together. Think about it. One family might have a generator. Another might have medical training. Someone else might have tools. Alone, you're vulnerable. Together, you're resilient. Step 1. Start the conversation. Preparedness starts with a conversation. Knock on a door. Send a text. Say, "Hey, I'm putting together an emergency plan for my family. What about you?" You'd be surprised how many people want to prepare but don't know where to start. Step 2. Share information. Create a simple neighborhood contact list. Include names, phone numbers, and any special skills or resources, like medical training or chainsaws for clearing debris. Print it. Share it. Keep it updated. Step 3. Identify vulnerabilities. Who in your neighborhood might need extra help? Elderly residents. Families with infants. People with disabilities. Make a plan to check on them during emergencies. That's not just preparedness. That's humanity. Step 4. Pool resources. You don't need everyone to buy everything. Share the load. One person gets a generator. Another stocks extra fuel. Someone else keeps a big first aid kit. When you coordinate, you save money and build trust. Neighborhood safety tips. Lighting. Keep outdoor lights on during outages if you have backup power. It deters crime and helps people navigate safely. Communication. Use group texts or apps to share updates. If cell service fails, designate a meeting point. Security. Lock doors. Stay alert. Emergencies can attract opportunists. Don't make it easy for them. Advanced resilience strategies. Now let's talk about going beyond the basics. Redundancy. 2 is 1, 1 is none. Have backups for critical items. Water filters, batteries, chargers. Skills. Gear is great, but skills matter more. Learn basic first aid. Learn how to shut off utilities. Learn how to cook without power. Mental preparedness. Stress kills judgment. Practice drills. Talk through scenarios. Build confidence before chaos hits. Mindset coaching. Leadership in crisis. Here's something most people don't realize. Leadership isn't about titles. it's about action. When disaster strikes, people look for calm, capable voices. Be that voice. Share information. Offer help. Stay composed. Because panic spreads fast, but so does calm. Micro-mission. Ready for your next mission? Here it is. Talk to 2 neighbors about emergency plans. Create a shared contact list. Identify 1 community resource you can contribute. Skills, tools, or supplies. Do that, and you're not just prepared, you're building resilience for everyone around you. You've built your foundation. You've layered your kits. You've started thinking beyond your front door. That's huge. But before we move into the closing segment, let's tie it all together. Because preparedness isn't just about gear, it's about mindset, habits, and leadership. And when you combine those, you create resilience that lasts. The 3 pillars of advanced preparedness. Let's break this down into 3 pillars. Redundancy. 2 is 1, 1 is none. If something matters, water, power, communication, have a backup, and a backup for the backup. Example, if you rely on a battery bank, also have solar charging. If you store water, also have a filter. Skills over stuff. Gear is great, but skills save lives. Learn first aid. Learn how to shut off utilities. Learn how to cook without power. Because when gear fails, and it will, skills keep you alive. Community connection. We talked about this last time, but it bears repeating. Resilience is collective. Build relationships. Share plans. Pool resources. Because when the grid goes down, your neighbor might be your lifeline, and you might be theirs. Scenario planning. Think ahead. Here's a powerful exercise. Pick 3 scenarios and walk through them. Scenario 1. Power outage for 72 hours. What do you eat? How do you stay warm? How do you communicate? Scenario 2. Evacuation with 10 minutes notice. What do you grab? Where do you go? Who do you call? Scenario 3. Water contamination for a week. How do you drink? How do you cook? How do you clean? Write it down. Talk it through with your family. Practice it. Because when you rehearse, you reduce panic. Mindset coaching. From fear to freedom. Let's talk about fear. Fear paralyzes. Fear makes people freeze. But here's the truth. Preparedness turns fear into freedom. When you have a plan, when you have supplies, when you have confidence, fear loses its grip. You stop reacting and start responding. Preparedness isn't about living in dread. It's about living with peace of mind. It's about saying, I've got this. And that's powerful. The CSP identity. Why we do this. Common Sense Preparedness isn't just a show. It's a movement. It's a commitment to clarity, calm, and action. We're here because we believe preparedness should be simple, affordable, and accessible to everyone. No drama. No politics. Just practical steps that save lives. And here's the legacy. CSP was the first show to air on USAEBN back in 2010. Why? Because preparedness is the foundation of resilience. It's the cornerstone of safety. And for over a decade, we've been turning credible guidance into action. Micro-mission for this week. Before we wrap this segment, here's your mission. Review your home kit. Fill any gaps. Practice your 10-minute evacuation drill. Talk to 1 neighbor about preparedness. Do that, and you're not just prepared, you're leading by example. Motivational call to action. Here's the bottom line. Preparedness isn't optional. It's essential. It's not about fear. It's about freedom. It's about protecting what matters most. And you can do this. You can start today. You can start right now. Because when the lights go out, when the storm hits, when the shelves empty, the only thing that matters is what you've done ahead of time. And we're here to make sure you're ready. Let me start this final segment with a story. A true story that proves everything we've talked about today. It was late August, hurricane season in full swing. A Category 4 storm was barreling toward the Gulf Coast. Most people were scrambling, emptying store shelves, waiting in gas lines, panicking. But one family, they were calm. Why? Because they had a plan. They had water stored. They had food packed. They had a go bag ready. They knew their evacuation route. When the alert came, they didn't panic, they acted. They left early, avoided traffic, and stayed safe. While others were fighting over bottled water, they were already on the road. That's the difference preparedness makes. It turns chaos into control, turns fear into confidence. And that's what I want for you. Recap what we've covered. Before we wrap, let's recap the big takeaways from today. Preparedness isn't paranoia. It's peace of mind. Start with the basics. Water, food, power, communication. Build layers. Home kit, go bag, car kit, everyday carry. Know your risks. Hurricanes, wildfires, floods, blackouts, cyber threats. Make a plan. Shelter in place versus evacuation. Practice drills. Because in a crisis, you fall to the level of your preparation. Connect with your community. Resilience is collective. Action steps. Your roadmap. Here's your clear, simple roadmap. Store water. 1 gallon per person per day. Minimum 3 days. Stock food. Non-perishable, easy-to-prepare items. Secure power. Flashlights, batteries, battery bank for your phone. Plan communication. Know a radio. Printed contact list. Pack a go bag. Essentials for fast evacuation. Practice your plan. 10-minute drill once a month. Talk to your neighbors. Build a network. Share resources. Why this matters beyond you. Preparedness isn't just personal. It's civic duty. When you're prepared, you reduce strain on emergency services. You help your community recover faster. You protect the vulnerable. And you set an example others can follow. Think about it. Every prepared household is one less family in crisis. One less person waiting for help. One more source of strength when things go wrong. That's how resilience grows. One household at a time. Mindset coaching. The preparedness identity. I want you to see preparedness as part of who you are. Not a chore, not a project, but a lifestyle. A mindset. A commitment to safety, responsibility, and leadership. Because when you prepare, you're not just protecting your family, you're empowering yourself. You're saying, I refuse to be helpless. Motivational push. Why you can do this. Here's the truth. You don't need a military background. You don't need a fortune. You don't need to live off-grid. You just need to start. One step today. Another tomorrow. Stack those habits. Build that resilience. Because small steps add up to big security. We started this episode talking about why preparedness matters for you and your family. But now, let's zoom out. Because preparedness isn't just personal. It's national. It's civic. It's about building resilience that stretches from your home to your neighborhood, to your city and beyond. Historical examples of community resilience. Let me share a few stories that prove this point. Example 1. Joplin, Missouri. Tornado 2011. When an EF5 tornado ripped through Joplin, it destroyed homes, schools, and businesses. But what stood out wasn't just the devastation, it was the response. Neighbors helped neighbors. Churches opened their doors. Volunteers poured in. People shared food, water, and shelter. That spirit of community saved lives and sped recovery. Example 2. New York City. Blackout 2003. When the power grid failed across the Northeast, millions were in the dark. But instead of chaos, many neighborhoods came together. People cooked on grills, shared flashlights, checked on the elderly. That's resilience in action, not because of government intervention, but because of community strength. Example 3. Houston. Hurricane Harvey 2017. Harvey dumped historic rainfall, flooding entire neighborhoods. Rescue boats weren't just official, they were personal. Ordinary citizens launched their own boats to save strangers. That's what happens when people step up. That's what happens when preparedness meets compassion. Why civic responsibility matters. Here's the truth. Government agencies do incredible work, but they can't do it all. When disaster strikes, resources stretch thin. Response times slow. And that's where you come in. When you're prepared, you're not just helping yourself, You're reducing strain on emergency services. You're freeing up resources for those who truly need them. You're part of the solution. Preparedness is patriotism. It's civic duty. It's saying, I'm not going to be a burden, I'm going to be a pillar. The ripple effect of preparedness. Think about this. One prepared household means fewer emergency calls, fewer people in shelters, more stability in the neighborhood. Multiply that by 10 households, by 100, by 1,000, and suddenly you've got resilience at scale. That's how communities survive. That's how nations endure. Forward-looking civic empowerment. Preparedness isn't just about reacting. It's about shaping the future. Imagine a country where every household has a plan, where neighborhoods have networks, where communities train together. That's not a fantasy. That's achievable. And it starts with you. Mindset coaching. Leadership beyond your door. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about action. When you prepare, you lead. When you share your plan, you lead. When you help a neighbor, you lead. And leadership spreads. It inspires. It builds momentum. Be that spark. Micro-mission. Here's your civic mission. Share one preparedness tip on social media. Talk to 2 neighbors about building a network. Volunteer for one local safety initiative, CERT, Red Cross, or even a school safety drill. Small steps. Big impact. Picture this. The storm has passed. The floodwaters have receded. The fires are out. The headlines have moved on. But for thousands of families, life will never be the same. Homes gone. Memories lost. Futures uncertain. And here's the hardest part. Many of those losses were preventable. If only there had been a plan. If only there had been preparation. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine a family that stayed safe because they stored water, because they packed a go bag, because they practiced their evacuation route. Imagine a neighborhood that came together because they shared resources and checked on each other. That's not luck. That's preparedness. That's resilience. And that's what we're fighting for. The final recap. What you've learned. Let's bring it all home. Preparedness is peace of mind, not paranoia. Start simple. Water, food, power, communication. Build layers. Home kit, go bag, car kit, everyday carry. Know your risks. Hurricanes, wildfires, floods, blackouts, cyber threats. Make a plan. Shelter in place versus evacuation. Practice drills. Because chaos isn't the time to figure things out. Connect with your community. Resilience grows when we work together. Adopt the mindset. Preparedness isn't a chore, it's a lifestyle. The emotional truth. Here's what I need you to understand. Disasters don't care about your schedule. They don't wait for you to get ready. They strike when they strike. And when they do, the question isn't, will help come? It's, will you be ready when it doesn't? Preparedness is love in action. It's saying, I care enough about my family to protect them. It's saying, I care enough about my community to strengthen it. It's saying, I care enough about myself to take control. The CSP rallying tagline. This is Common Sense Preparedness, the flagship of USAEBN, the first show we ever aired back in 2010, and still the heartbeat of resilience today. Our mission is simple. Prepare, protect, prevail. Say it with me. Prepare, protect, prevail. That's not just a tagline. It's a promise. A promise to yourself. A promise to your family. A promise to your community. Your challenge. Here's my challenge to you. Don't just listen, act. Tonight, fill those water containers. Pack that go bag. Print that contact sheet. Tomorrow, talk to a neighbor. Share what you've learned. Start the ripple. Because resilience starts with one person, and that person is you. Closing emotional appeal. When the lights go out, when the storm hits, when the shelves empty, the only thing that matters is what you've done ahead of time. And you can do this. You can start today. You can start now. Because preparedness isn't fear. It's freedom. It's confidence. It's control. And it's common sense. This is Kevin Conover, and you've been listening to Common Sense Preparedness. where we turn credible guidance into simple steps you can finish today, so your family is safer tomorrow. Stay ready. Stay resilient. And remember, prepare, protect, prevail.